10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Power Hour is live. I'm Lee Kraft, a.k.a. the Monday Morning Racer, and over there is the man that's not bland, Mr. Bland, host of the Not Bland Show, Dujanay Bland. And Dujanay, I just want to remind everybody, I took the time, I went ahead and re-X'd the show. You can do that on Competition Plus, and it's X profile, and wherever you're watching from, hit the like button, hit the share button, dive into the comment section. Thank you to those that have already done so. Lonnie, thank you for watching. Ford, Doug, thank you for watching, and we're looking forward to having a good show. Dujanay, the guests we've got from the Pro Stock ranks.
Yeah, I'm really excited about both of the guests, especially Cory Reed. I felt like he had the best car on the property on Saturday, and the tree was late. It wasn't Cory. The tree was late.
Okay. Tree was late. Okay. Well, I like a little bit of delay every now and then. You got to throw these drivers a curveball.
There are a lot of long lights.
The system, and I'm all right with that. And I don't know. I like it when at the end of the day, I'm not saying Cory did this, but at the end of the day, you got some drivers complaining about a few things that caused them in their mind to lose when they just straight up lost. That's okay. I'm not opposed to that. But yes, we had the Pro Superstar Shootout this past weekend. We're looking ahead to drag racing action. I think most notably Lights Out coming up, not this weekend, but the weekend after the one we have in front of us. And it is all across the board in just about every form of drag racing about to be on all 8 cylinders, if you will, or 4, depending on what class, or 6 if you're in like Comp Eliminator, with some funky combination. But at full song, from the radio world, the small tower world, the no prep world, the nitro worlds, including March Meet and Gator Nationals and Funny Car Chaos and Nitro Chaos. We are in it. Super Bowl's done. Racing is back.
Yeah. I am really excited about racing season. It's nice to be done with football. It's pretty vigorous on all ends. Now things tend to slow down a little bit, and you get to get in a little bit of a groove. And I'm excited about drag racing being back and talking all about it. It's going to be a fun year.
It is going to be a fun year. We certainly saw at the Pro Superstar Shootout, the competition is already real. And we see in the Pro Superstar Shootout, I feel, people carrying momentum from last year into testing and in this race. Sean Reed, Rob Wendland tuning, they were starting to check the boxes toward the end of 2024. And they check off a big one here in 2025, already picking up a win. Sean Reed's first Top Fuel win. Certainly Rob Wendland is no stranger to winning and tuning winning operations, but they're able to pick up a win. That certainly is going to be some momentum to take into the rest of the year. And then Ron Capps. Every time you think Ron and that team have took a dip, and they're not going to be coming out of that dip anytime soon. And I don't know why people tend to think this way with Ron. I think just because he is now owner and driver, and not just driver, and like not connected with Don Schumacher Racing and those type of elements, that he hits that dip and they're not coming back out of it anytime soon. And they tend to find a way somehow to claw back and make finals. And here now a win that stops a drought that had been a while as far as the last final win light on a race day.
Yeah, I kind of liken Ron Capps to Howie Roseman, GM of the Philadelphia Eagles. One thing that he does very well is they always tend to draft well. And what I mean by drafting is they always have personnel, the proper personnel in place to get the job done. He's never caught with his pants down or, having people overstay their welcome or not putting people in the right positions to make that team better. He knows how to do that very well. And he, as a driver himself, is very resilient. And it seems like nothing really phases him. Probably does on the inside, but on the outside, he's cool, calm, and collected. I think that combination of him and Guido and what the management skills that, Guido possesses, it really shows up with their race team. And I think with some of the things that they've been able to work on in the offseason, and it really showcased itself at the Pro Superstar Shootout. I'm really, really excited to see what that Napa car does for 2025.
Absolutely. And to our first slated guest, Troy Coughlin Jr., winner in Pro Stock. We don't have him in the green room quite yet. Hopefully we will have him soon. And again, I want to apologize for last week. We did have Tony Stewart scheduled, but that did not work out. We got Daniel Wilkerson in. Daniel Wilkerson had an interesting test session and race down there at Bradenton. But with the Pro Stock winner, if I may throw it out there, I hope we don't have a Pro Superstar Shootout curse. Last year, the elite winner went on and did not have that elite of a campaign in 2024. So maybe Coughlin can right the ship in 2025 for Elite Motorsports, kicking off the year with a win and more to come.
Yeah, that did not turn out very well, and hopefully that is not a thing. I know Ron Capps is hoping that isn't a thing because, the champion over there at the Pro Superstar Shootout went on to win the championship in the NHRA Mission Food Series. So he's hoping that carries over. Troy definitely is hoping that this isn't a thing and it doesn't affect him in the regular season.
Absolutely. And in Top Fuel, well, decent season, not a championship winning season, but some wins, and we really can't take any correlation there. Sean Reed certainly, I think, is going to be competitive this year. And again, Top Fuel, we suspect, and I think we expect that it will be just as competitive as it was last year, if not even more competitive. That class is absolutely insane with the competition that is in it right now. Well, ladies and gentlemen, while we wait for Mr. Coughlin to come into the green room and have him on here for our first guest here on the Power Hour, we'll take this moment, take a break, and say thank you to those that do bring the Power Hour live. Weldon High Performance, for all of your high performance pumps needs, they are the ones that will pump you up. Tough incident for Jeggy down there at Pro Superstar Shootout. Don't believe we have ever seen anything like that from him.
No, it was shocking, but I tell you what, man, it's like I think that he really wanted it. It shows you what was on the line there, and I think he really, really wanted to really get after it and get that win. He stayed in a little too long. Kind of surprising, but I tell you what is most surprising is the fact that when he hit the wall, it didn't even like knock any fluids out, didn't break anything, didn't end up getting any fluids on the track. So, with all the delays that, for various reasons that happened, I was kind of surprised that it didn't get any fluids on the ground. So I'm sure he was happy about that. And I think it looked a little bit worse than it actually was. Just kind of hit the wall just right there. Didn't seem that hard, though.
Right. Did not seem that hard. They'll have that car ready to go before long. And again, I agree with you, going for it and attempting to get that win, and certainly hasn't lost his competitive edge at all. It was an eventful pro superstar shootout. We alluded to before taking the break, Daniel Wilkerson in testing had no parachutes on a pass in testing, and it was a full pull, and he found the sand, hurt the body. It's going to need some front halving work from what I understand in the slip area, and they had to go to a backup ride. And you have Antron Brown. We've actually got that footage, and we can cue it up and take a look later on, but the incident with the tire and a drama unfolding with tires as well that we even see play out in the final round with Top Fuel, and we can discuss that in just a few moments. We've got him in the green room. We're going to go ahead and bring him on, Mr. Troy Coughlin Jr. And Troy, hey, I was thinking about you, and not for the reason that you may think with the Pro Superstar Shootout. I was in Speedway, Indiana. I was about to go to a shop and take some photos of a Southeast Gassers Association AFX car that's going to be hitting the track this year, and I stopped at White Castle to get a bite before going over to the shop. And I tell you what, there's some good sliders.
It's a great choice. It's an All-American Midwestern classic. You can get it in your freezer if you're not quite in the Midwest or East Coast, so to speak. But yeah, it's a family place and a family company that really mirrors the morals of Jegs, and they're wonderful people.
Troy, obviously we're going to talk about the win, big win, but testing wise for yourself and Elite Motorsports going down to Bradenton, what was on the docket? What were things that you all were trying to test out before the event, before going into competition itself? Anything you different in the car, maybe a different shoe, different glove, or more blinders, anything of that nature for you as a competitor or in the car with Elite Motorsports?
I haven't really made any changes, so to speak, in the cockpit, but we tried some stuff, some suspension packages that we've been wanting to try, some different weight configurations, and some new engine stuff. So there's a lot of exciting things at Elite Motorsports. Those guys are working their tails off, and it's so neat to see the youth up in the crew chief lounge along with Mark Ingersoll kind of guiding them. Be so successful, because our car really wasn't working that well towards the latter part of the year last year, and they got it figured out. So I'm the luckiest kid in the pits.
Do you know what the issues were with your car late in the season and why things weren't really working that well?
We had a lot of grip. We had a little too much grip, and it just slowed us down. So we're just taking some grip away and getting after it.
This year's Pro Superstar Shootout, what were the differences? What stood out in this event from 2024 and made 2025 different and yet memorable, other than the win?
It was packed. You should have seen the sea of people. It wasn't just in the stands. They were walking the nitro pits, the pro stock pits. I think the pro board has done an awesome job at really getting good partners and just doing a good job and really caring about the racer and the fans' experience kind of together as a package. And it was really exciting. And the love of the automobile and the love of drag racing is really alive and well. And we're lucky to have such passionate people in our industry to keep us going.
Heck of a competition, man. And you and your team possess a lot of it. Has to keep you guys sharp, especially coming out of, off season. And this is your test and all. Has to keep you guys sharp there and yourself sharp, and give you a little bit of momentum going into Gainesville.
I think just keeping really good notes. We made X changes to the weight. We did X with the shock, and this was the result from such moves. And just having good notes and really just having a game plan for racing the racetrack and racing the air along with the track, and trying to get our entire package to be as fast as it can be to give us the best chances of getting a good spot on the ladder and trying to go for another win.
All right, Troy, show off that hoodie. I see that old funny car you got. What are you showcasing over there, man? Or it looks like an old funny car.
I started an apparel company. It's brand new, just started. It's called Revelry One. And we're doing vintage drag racing, and we want to celebrate. It's not just vintage, but we just want to celebrate the tracks, the racers, the great brands, just everything, and all the storytelling through apparel is really our goal. It's like I said, it's brand new. It's kind of wild. It's been kind of a fun project, but this is my pappy's old funny car from the early 70s with Dale Emery driving. So it's a lot of fun. I've found some old photos and figured I want to make some cool vintage drag racing t-shirts. Like an idea that I have right now is to celebrate the old pro stock drivers. I want to do like a Gap and Roush car, all in like a vector image on a shirt that's retro, to where you kind of want the whole series. So if you're a drag racing fan and just a motorsports fan in general, we're going to be your apparel shop.
All right, cool. Well, look, Dujna, you take that. I'm running with it. I'm gonna find that. Okay, we're gonna bring that up, and we'll plug the new apparel shop here in just a few moments.
Cool.
I know a lot of drivers were talking about the light and the lights there. Did you feel like the lights were long?
It felt a little longer than normal, but my experience in bracket racing, you go to a new track, new promoter, new race, and it'd be a little different. You'd have a real long tree. You'd have a what you think is normal, or a quicker tree. So you're kind of used to being different every time you go somewhere. So that really didn't upset me, but it got me a couple times. I was 64 in the semis, and heck, I couldn't even told you I was that late. I just flat missed it. So it definitely adds a variable to it, which I think it makes it entertaining, and you got to really be on your toes.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at that, and a lot of people from throughout the classes, they seem to be abnormally late, and I kind of thought that was the case too. That the tree being so long that you kind of sit there, and when it does come, you're like, oh, there it is.
Yeah, sometimes it would hit you in the face like that, but you really just, what I would tell myself is, hey, look, this thing's going to come on. I need to be down on the clutch pedal as hard as I can, and being on the gas and being ready for it. So I think, I still missed it, but just that's where the luck factor kind of comes in drag racing, because we made a really nice run in the semis. David Quadra had us covered by about 2 and change on React, and we got there a couple fouls. So kudos to the elite guys and all my guys for getting that thing down the track so nicely.
Yeah, that was a heck of a round. In the final round, I felt like Cory had the car on the premises that day. Did you feel like you had to get up on the wheel a little bit against him in the final?
Always up on the wheel, whether it's Q1 or E4. But gosh, look at his entire run package. He was between like 16 and 21 all day, and was dang near low ET each lap. So that's a tough package to beat. So
yeah,
you got to be up on the wheel. I was 34 before we shook and spun, but that really wouldn't have gotten any. It would have been nothing for him. So we're very fortunate. He was a little antsy.
Yeah, this is great stuff, by the way.
Right. I obviously I'm scrolling, we're
fantastic.
looking, but there is some neat material here. And you're cracking into the collegiate world with beer pong here.
Yeah.
I'm sure these will be popular sales as well.
Only
But
all light in our pits, so you got to stay diverse in markets. So we enjoy our beer as well here in the Midwest.
hey, there you go. Yes, absolutely. But already seeing, the retro hoodie you've got on, and big tires, and I like it, man. I like it.
Yeah,
This
this is good
this
stuff.
this is good. This is
It's
good.
and I'm not much for graphic design, so that's what you're seeing. I've done most and some of it, but I'm working with a designer now to help me kind of make sure that it's modern and comes up right and is a nice comfy shirt. Right now we're print on demand, and we're going to plan on stocking and shipping apparel here shortly.
All right. No, looks cool, man. Looks cool. Keep up the good work, and we'll have to sport some Revelry 1 at the track before long.
For sure.
That's great.
Yeah, definitely I need to take that hoodie and wear to Funny Car Chaos. That would be popular.
They're really soft. They're comfy. You can't go wrong. It'd be great for Funny Car Chaos.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So big win, but Elite Motorsports got a big win last year, and then it didn't go too well for Erica. So yes, momentum right now, but how do you all maintain momentum throughout an entire NHRA season?
Faith. You got to have great faith and confidence and good notes, and just try your best to be clear-minded and focused on making your best run. I mean, from the driver's seat, it's about definitely being clear-minded and being comfortable and making good attempts from the seat. But as far as my crew chief, Tim Freeman, and Kyle Bates and Chase Freeman, Anthony Lum, all those guys up there, they do such a good job at note-taking and kind of having a plan before we get there where we want to start with the factors that we can see. So I think just sticking to the process and what it takes to make good runs, that's what really sets apart the difference makers in the class, is just being focused on what it takes to make nice runs and not so much caught up in result. So we all want to win.
Great question from Blake here. What are you looking forward to for the 2025 NHRA season, Troy?
Well, the cool thing about drag racing, it's all five senses, and there's a lot of passion. So I'm looking forward to just being out there and just keeping going and keeping making laps and getting better. I really enjoy the process in getting and becoming a better pro stock driver. So I've always been very curious on many factors in React, and I'm kind of a geek for it. So I'm can't wait to be out there and to meet some awesome fans too that share that same passion. So I'm excited.
Dugenais, I thought he was going to say 4 wide in the countdown is what he's looking for the most.
It's fun. I've been bit by it, and I've done okay with it. So if NHRA wants to do a 4 wide, I'm all in, and I'm not going to complain, because you got to like it. If this is what's on the schedule, we're gonna race it. By golly, we're gonna get after it.
Yeah.
Now, see, that's the attitude to have. Like, it's opportunity, not something that is detracting from my opportunity. I like that way of thinking.
Drag racing.
Right. Regular season now will distinctly have a champion crowned, some extra money thrown that way. Overdue, you think, for those of you competing in NHRA?
I think it's really cool. I love how NHRA and Mission Foods come out with great things like that every year, more excitement. I think that pays great homage to the guys who are winning regular season and really keeps us engaged in the regular season races. So definitely adds, it kind of puts some steak on the table for us, and we'll just have to go out there. And it's like I said, Q1 to E4, you got to be up on the wheel.
So I got one for you, one more. So I had Elon on the Not Bland show earlier tonight, and he brought up something that these regular season trophies should be like the NFL does with the Lamar Hunt Trophy, the George Halas Trophy, he said the Pro Stock Trophy should be named the Bob Glidden Trophy. What do you think?
I totally agree. I think that's great. Celebrating the drivers of the past that paved the road for us is definitely really attractive for fans. They can learn the sport better that way. So I think that'd be really neat, and what an honor to go get a Bob Glidden Trophy, or there's so many good, a Warren Johnson Trophy.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's so many. I mean, Lee Shepard. I mean, one of the greatest. There's lots of different names you could have, and that would be really exciting. And from someone who enjoys drag racing history, I'd be all in.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Troy, thank you for your time, and look forward to seeing you compete and carry that momentum through the rest of 2025. And we'll keep an eye on Revelry 1. I want to pick up a couple of things. Hey, look, so I work with Funny Car Chaos, and we'll be doing stuff with Southeast Gassers Association this year. So look, give me a gasser one, okay? And I can have it all covered out there.
Love to hear it, Ed, and we'll get on that. It sounds like fun.
All right, Troy, thank you, man, and congratulations.
Thank you again, and thank you for your time.
Got some more swag to get, Dugenais.
I'm telling you, man, it's some good stuff on there. I'm definitely getting a few pieces there. So much. And
right.
Being out of the track, that's perfect stuff.
Right. He now needs a limited edition Pro Superstar Shootout win T-shirt.
Facts.
We're selling right now. Right now. All right. We're going to take a quick break, and after the break, we're going to have on another Pro Stock driver, someone that is making some new waves in that class. What a great story from him and what he's been able to accomplish. And he had a good Pro Superstar Shootout in his own right down there at Bradenton Motorsports Park. And it's nice that we're going to all have bearded people on the screen once we get this guy on the show. That is Cory Reed. We're going to take a look at some footage from Bradenton, including Troy, his win, and Cory, his good run right before getting him on. Mr. Reed, that was one heck of a lap, and what one heck of a race you did have. One win light shy. Good
Yeah.
weekend.
Absolutely. It was a great weekend. You guys see me, hear me all right? I'm running to the store real quick to get my baby some breakfast food.
Oh, you're good,
Yeah.
man. We see you. We
All
hear
right,
you.
cool.
Good deal.
Good. Yeah, so I'm about to park right now. I'll sit still for a minute for you, too.
All right, great.
No, man, yeah, it was a great weekend overall. Really was. Like, best weekend in my personal driving career. Only other weekend racing-wise for me at Tops is Joey's Topeka in 22. So,
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
It's a great,
Look,
great time.
that car was on kill all weekend. And I felt like you had the best car on the property. I'm just going to say it. The tree was late, Corey. The tree was late.
Nah, when I fully staged, I did a bonehead thing and started thinking, and I told myself, don't go 100 because you're going to outrun the guy, and I don't want to lose on a hole shot type thing. And I just tried too hard, lightened up on the foot, and threw the runaway. My fault.
Man, great weekend overall. And I don't think, not to take anything away from you and your capabilities, but I don't think anybody had Cory Reed picked to perform as exceptionally well as you did. But now everybody's got to be looking at the Gator Nationals and beyond and like, Cory Reed's in this field. We do not need to underestimate this man.
I think that, I don't think you should underestimate the whole team at KB. And I'm fortunate enough and, lucky enough to where I'm driving well enough now that it gets to shine how good those guys are. Because they made the car. They make the calls. I just, as long as I drop the pedal the same and shift the same and do the best I can keeping the car in the groove, then, it's pretty much they set the thing up. And as long as I can wheel it, it's all good. So definitely team effort.
You guys had moments last year of greatness as well. Do you feel like it's your comfortability in the car along with everybody kind of getting a great feel of this car now, why you guys were able to perform the way you did in Bradenton?
Absolutely. Testing was rough. I mean, I was hit and miss, letting the clutch pedal go correctly and short shifting here and there. And then the car was hit and miss too. Like they'd get it figured out, I'd screw it up for them. Or, the car would be wild and I'd have a hard time driving it. So definitely they're confident in my ability, which makes me confident in my ability. You got Dallas Glenn telling you you're doing a good job. You got Dave Conley. You got Greg Anderson congratulating you every now and then when he speaks. But even when, you hear it from Rob and Nate, who never drove or nothing, but them guys, they probably put them in a car, they could probably get it done. They've been around for so long, seen it so often and stuff, comes second nature, I think. So, I've been down the drag strip a lot. I'm not inexperienced. I'm just inexperienced in a car. So it's cool. It's cool that it's coming full circle and I get to have a little success and feel like all that time I put into trying to be a racer paying off finally. So.
And, paying off, I will say, in a very big platform, especially for Pro Stock. Pro Stock had a full 16-car field. The other classes had 8-car fields, and you could say half of the competition was not there for the nitro cars that we can expect typically at NHRA national events. But that wasn't the case in your category. All the heavy hitters were there, and you threw out some haymakers with your driving and obviously with what KB was able to give you far as that ride. But, hey, drivers got to hit that mark throughout the burnout, throughout staging, throughout shifting, and you did exactly that. So, yeah, watch out, competition.
I hope so, man. I hope it just keeps rolling. I've had a lot of bad years and rough years and try hard years and all that. I just hope this one goes smooth for us. And, finish top 5 in championship, qualified, all the races. My main goal is don't lose first round. So hopefully make it happen.
That's a good goal. If you don't lose first round, you're already almost mathematically over halfway the hump. So
yeah,
there you go.
That's a challenging one. I haven't we haven't done it. Joey lost 2 first rounds in that good year he had, and he got second in the world. So, those 2 rounds might have made a difference.
Yeah. Now, we asked Troy this question too. It is testing, and you guys were doing some of that. What were your team's goals in the test session?
For my car, it was just to get the car to leave harder. We struggled at the end of last year. We got all the newer cars to leave hard, and they kind of fell off on mine because I think they started applying some same, thought processes in the older car I drive. It just wasn't working. So I think they went back to what they knew worked with the car, and it works. It's still a good race car. It just drives a little different than the newer one. So ain't no big deal.
Obviously, you're no stranger to the motorcycle realm and performing exceptionally well there. Transitioning into a door slammer, you obviously know how to drive a car. I mean, you're sitting in a parking lot talking to us. What were the challenges, though? What was the number one challenge from high-level motorcycle racing to highest level of naturally aspirated door slammer racing for you in transitioning?
One, the burnout's real hard to get used to right away. It's kind of a common thing, but honestly, the biggest thing was when I first put the Hans on, I was like stuck up. I was like looking around. I don't know if I could be strapped into something. And once I got used to getting in and settled, and like I get in the car pretty early still, just so I can just get everything on and make sure I'm comfy. If I'm not comfortable, I'll unstrap, readjust something, put it back in. That seems to be the biggest transition. The restrictiveness, but it's not. I'm getting comfortable now. I felt great all day on Saturday, and getting in and out of the car. Felt I was reaching up, hitting stuff where I was supposed to, when I was supposed to, driving nice and robbing me, backing me up and whatnot. Is getting better, all that stuff. So it's just comfortability is just going to come with time and laps, and inside the car stuff is. It appears more comfortable than I think I feel sometimes.
Now, you had your NHR experience last year, and you were able here at the Pro Superstar Shootout. Kind of tell the fans what the differences are as far as your experience there at the Pro Superstar Shootout.
It felt more like an outlaw race. It felt like a shootout. NHRA, you're at an NHRA race. There's nothing different than that. Everybody wants to win that Wally. That's the most important thing, drag racers, it seems like. It was cool, though. Smaller stands, small venue. Everything was tight. It was hard to get around. There's a lot of people, which is awesome. They packed that place, even for the Pro Mod races and big events they throw there. They're great at promoting. At Braden Motorsports Park it's a good place. It's fast, but it's smaller, so it feels more homey, more local. But it was fun. They did a great job. I go back if they had a whole series. I'd go all of them and try to do all the NHRA ones. I'd do both.
Well, that's a good report, and glad that it is providing that different feel. And I think for Bradenton and the fans, it is a spectacular arrangement to have, especially Pro Stock. Pro Stock outside of the NHRA, the 500 cubic inch variety, you don't get to see them that often.
Yeah, they're finicky little things. You have to put a lot of time and effort into them, and if you're not running for the Wally, I don't think the nostalgia of Pro Stock and the nostalgia of that Wally, it adds up to something. And them to drag Pro, which it's pretty much an NHRA, like I wouldn't say sister thing, but it's pretty close to that. NHRA guys were there that, which was nice to have Safety Safari there. It was organized. They did a great job. Everybody worked well together and all that. But, it definitely had the presence of it, but it wasn't an NHRA race. But having that, I don't know, there's something about the Pro Stock class that is just ingrained with it, right? And it is nostalgic. And you got, like you're talking about that trophy, named it after Glidden or Warren or, his uncle could be, it could be named after him. It could be named after Troy Coughlin. It could be named after Greg Williamson. There's people, there's still greats doing it. And there's just building. It's not dying. The class it came back to life a few years ago. They did a good job. Seeing it anywhere else, though, I don't think you're going to see that class anywhere else, just because if it ain't racing for that Wally or big money at a shootout thing, that's a spin off of the NHRA stuff, is it's hard to do. It's an expensive class. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of brain power, a lot of big. Most people want to go to races, have fun, relax, not work on their car, thrash on it, and change every gear, the rear end, the tires, check the valve springs. Maybe change a couple valve springs, change clutch. They don't want to do all that crap. I think that's why it's top-notch racing.
Blake's got a really good question. He said, what race do you wish you could win if you had to choose one?
Vandermeer was going to be my choice because I grew up in Colorado. I raced the junior dragster there, a couple times. Vegas would be a good one. I've been there a ton. A lot of family goes. I don't really care though, man. I always joked I'd want to win my first race with Scott Palmer, and like Ron Capps, somebody I like, somebody I know, hang out with, like to drink beer with. No, that I would genuinely be very excited to stand up next to and talk some crap with. Just that would be more special than the place, I think.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. So, Cory, why should fans pull for Cory Reed in 2025? I'm going to be pulling for you. Like, I got to pull for all the guys that have beards. Like, there's not a lot of bearded dudes in the NHRA. Right. There's like you, and I think of obviously Buddy Hull, and wow. Then it's like, Lyle, and then maybe Matt Hagan, comes out with some every now and then when he needs some more mojo. But yeah, I'm certainly pulling for the bearded dudes. But why should folks pull for you?
Man, we've been grinding for so long. I just want to. My family's in this. We love it. We're we want to be part of it. Even if you don't pull for me, man, I don't care. We're gonna be a part of it. I don't know. I think we genuinely like to have fun for the right reason. I don't think we're there for greed or for money type stuff. I think we're there for win races and prove that we can do it and be a part of something big and keep the sport growing too. That's a big thing about the JNA thing. My mom and dad try to do their best at helping people and building things and giving back and promoting, and that's, if I can do that, I want to.
That they do. You can find that name and that brand, seems like everywhere in the world of drag racing. Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
I asked my dad one time, I was like, why don't you have a fuel car? He's like, well, if I get a fuel car, then I'll probably have to stop sponsoring everybody else. For sure. Because I'm going to have to run it hard. He's going to run it hard. He's going to spend a ton of money, and he'll feel, spending that kind of money on a race car isn't really justified for him because he does it for fun. It's not his business.
Yeah.
So right. He'd rather help everybody else and see everybody else have a good time. And then he has a good time when he wants to.
Well, that's far more insight than I even had, and that is impressive hey, I'm going to still do my thing, but not such at a level where it takes away from helping the sport in other areas. And, that's impressive. And there's so many people out there doing it, making it possible and helping out other folks. So
I'll go Skag guys. Shoot.
Right. And I know I think of the Van Howens, one of, Van Howen, Lance there in the top end, interviewing him, Funny Car Chaos, the finals, he points to that JNA logo. He's like, they've been such, a huge help. And, it's out there far and wide.
I'm proud of it. I'll tell you that.
Certainly should be.
One more for me. Is there any chance, Andrew had this question too, is there any chance we see Joey back out there at the racetrack on a motorcycle?
I'm trying to put something together for him. There's 2 races this year, I think that don't compete, Chicago and Virginia.
Yeah.
So if I can get him on a competitive bike, and if he wants to do it, absolutely. We just haven't worked on our motorcycle personal stuff since we stopped, and we're not about to because it ain't fast enough. We ain't gonna unload that shit anywhere.
Yeah.
But I want to try to get him to some races.
Do you think? Yeah. He's too good to be sitting on the sidelines, in my opinion.
I think he's the best. I think he's the best. Yeah. I think he's the greatest pro motorcycle drag racer ever. I think he's won in more classes. I think he's he's great, dude. He rides the bike excellent. He's a great report card after he gets off it. He's good to work with. He's leaves good. I think he's top notch. I don't think he's not going to be a feeder. He will not be on the bottom. He will not. He hates that. He's a winner. He is a winner. He's won a ton and a lot of different things, and he knows how. And the guy just refuses to go out there and get his teeth kicked in for fun. And I'm proud of him for that.
Yeah, I can respect that too.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Man.
Absolutely. He works his butt off too. I've seen him over there underneath that alcohol funny car digging underneath that thing. So he knows how to put a hard day's work in.
He builds engines at the shop every day. It's not the pro stock stuff. He does factory X, factory stock, and some I think there's some stock stuff in there. I don't know, but he does work every day. He's my best friend, man. He's one of my heroes. I think he's one of the greatest people I've ever met in my life.
That's awesome.
Spectacular. Well, Cory, look, thank you for your time. Go get that baby some food.
Absolutely.
And enjoy the rest of your night. Congratulations on a good weekend, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Spectacular. Yes. Good to have a pro stock chat tonight on the Competition Plus Power Hour from the Pro Superstar Shootout. And look, good to see Troy win. Not that Troy is a rookie, certainly not that by any means, but I feel like Troy is still in a maturation to some extent.
Yeah.
And, like his first year out, there were high expectations, and we didn't see the round wins and the wins, but they are starting to come, and you're starting to see it in big moments. So I think Troy Coughlin Jr., we're going to see great things from him down the road and continue to happen. And then what a great story with Cory and what he's been able to do and having success in now a door slammer, arguably one of the hardest to drive, maybe not from a horsepower standpoint, but from a standpoint of perfection. And fascinating, again, the burnout, the most challenging aspect of those cars. Makes you wonder, I have nothing to compare it to. I obviously have no way of conceptualizing how challenging it is, but man, how hard is a burnout in an NHRA Pro Stock car?
I'd be interested to find that out.
Yeah.
I think it seems like that's the one thing that a lot of pro stock drivers say. I think even when I spoke to Camry Caruso last year, that was something she mentioned. I've heard people say about trying not to stall it out or make it completely shut down, because you can do that during the burnout. So it's weird how hard that's a thing that everyone says how hard it is. So that'd be interesting to find out why it's that hard.
And it's a reality. I can remember John Montecalvo, and many watching this show, when I say John Montecalvo, they'll know, but there may be some that are just familiar with NHRA that may not realize one of the greats in IHRA mountain motor pro stock drag racing and is still in mountain motor pro stock drag racing. And you can see him at the NHRA level and the PDRA and other places that mountain motor may run. He got into, if I remember correctly, Kenny Delco's pro stock car and the 500 cubic inch variety. And that first burnout, he did not get it right. And this is a man that has done hundreds, if not thousands, of burnouts in a pro stock car of the mountain motor variety. So there is something that makes the NHRA 500 cubic inch setup, it may very well be the most challenging burnout in all of motorsports.
Yeah, it's wild that it is. You would think it would be a little bit easier being a door slammer, but I even remember Joe Costello talking about sitting in one after it was fired up and holding the clutch pedal in, and how that clutch pedal was basically trying to kick itself out. You have to really have a strong leg to keep that thing in. It's wild how tough that is. And, for people to say that it's easy. And, especially when I know Erica Enders gets a lot of that. And I'm sure a lot of the ladies do. It takes a lot of strength, leg strength, to be able to hold that clutch in. That's not an easy deal. And it says a lot about the fact that they're not just drivers, they're athletes. Because you got to be in shape. You got to have some kind of strength to be able to wield that thing, because you either manhandle it or it manhandles you. So, yeah, pretty interesting stuff from a door slammer.
I think we certainly had peak moments with Cory Reed's performance there at the Pro Superstar Shootout, and Troy Coughlin nabbing the win at the Pro Superstar Shootout. We thank Peak. They support the Competition Plus Power Hour. We're going to take a break with them, and after the break, we're going to dive into the comment section and dive into the event as a whole, because I do think, though that there are many pros, I just have to wonder, what's going on?
If you want to take your vehicle's performance to new heights, you got to give it P. Like our original equipment technology, antifreeze, and coolant. Our formulas match the vehicle manufacturer's technology requirements so that we have the perfect match for every vehicle. That's one reason why Peak is among the fastest growing brands of coolant in America. We work harder to earn the trust of people like you every day.
So thank you to our guest, Troy Coughlin Jr., and also Cory Reed. Thank you for each and every one of you watching. Please hit the like button and the share button. We're going to dive into the comment section. We're going to go back to the top here, Mr. Bland, and Drag Racing Mayhem, no stranger to the show, no stranger to controversy, but I don't think there's any controversy on this. I have to agree. Tractor Nationals, lights out. Talking about what is coming up in the future in a couple of weeks. It is definitely a different segment of drag racing, and they heavily rely on the prep in that world, but they do have some stellar performances. But tractor time was an issue in the shootout.
It was. It really was. Yeah. Yeah. That.
I agree. Now, Patrick Harper, he says that the pro show was a fun time. Patrick, were you there? If you're still watching, give us a clue. And I do wonder, what was the experience like for people that were there? Drag Racing Mayhem was watching through Flow, and I was watching the Flow previews, things of that nature. And yes, you could tell a difference in the length of time for prep. And I know it is still a test session, and they're still trying to learn things, even though they're in competition. But something that the NHRA does well, even though many times the competitors fuss about it, there is a balance. They strike a balance of trying to keep everybody happy. And sometimes when you try to keep everybody happy, you just wind up making everybody not happy. But they've got to strike that balance between, we got to do prep, and we also do not need to be out here on these tractors so long that fans leave the stands.
Yeah, they got to find that happy balance. And especially when, and I've made this statement earlier on the Not Bland show, that, unlike the NHRA, they have a lot of different classes that can kind of keep things going. And they don't really have a lot of classes out there, but you got to find a way to make things happen there and shorten that time. I mean, especially if you've got, NHRA Safety Safari people there helping out. They already know how to do this. So let's find a happy medium and speed up the prep time.
Right. I understand. And we have Darren Williams Jr. chiming in, who works with John Force Racing, a.k.a. former American Hot Rod Entertainment, a.k.a. former host on this show. A lot of formers there, Mr. Williams. Now, keep up with the good work he does out there in the world of drag racing. He says here, though, it makes you appreciate the NHRA schedule, the 12:30 and 3 p.m. session times, just so much sitting around. And I understand that in a test session and setting, let's not hammer our crews. There are new crew members that we may very well be attempting to let them learn the ropes of the Nitro ranks or the Pro Stock ranks, whatever ranks they may be out there. But you still have a race, you still have a show, and I would not want to be waiting that long around sessions unless, and we don't have anybody with that input right now, unless they have figured out some way at that event that the time is being filled for the fans in another way, shape, form, or fashion.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to, and you have to think about, okay, so if you have something there to kind of take up the time for the fans, well, now you have a television audience that you're trying to keep time. And I thought Jamie and Mike did as best as they could to try to fill time. But, I said it at the end of my show. I should have said it to Elon, but at the end of the day, you need a few extra people. And there's a lot of other things that could be brought up and talked about, shown throughout. You need more people. And like I said on my show, I'm available. My co-host here is available. You need somebody that's going to be there, that's going to be passionate, knows these guys, knows about the sport. I'm just putting it out there. I'm available, and I'm confident in my ability. So I feel like we're two of the best in the business. So if you want to try to do that and expand it, we're more than happy to help out in that department, because I think that's absolutely needed when it comes down to TV, because you kind of lose the audience with all that downtime, and you're really putting a lot of pressure on, not saying they didn't do a good job, just you're putting a lot of pressure on Jamie Howe and Mike to carry that dead air all that time. It's tough. And I'm sorry. Some of us already saw some of the clips, and if you were going to do that, should have created some new stuff. And maybe there was a few new ones in there, and it may be new to people who didn't see it the first time. But gonna have to have some content. And playing old stuff just wasn't it.
Right, and you have to have a ton of content ready and queued up. And, experience this with Funny Car Chaos when we've had live streams, and even thinking ahead on live stream content for the future with particular drag racing brand in mind right now. But whether it is an accident, whether it is an oil down, whether it is a weather delay and you think you can come back and you're not calling the action for that day, you have got to have packages in place to cover up that time. People do not want to watch tractors. I am not a tractor fan unless I'm at a tractor pull. I love tractor pulls, but tractor dragging is boring, and it's the worst sound in drag racing that there is. Get them off the camera. And I agree with you. Jamie Howe, Mike Dunn did a great job, but there does become a point where the only thing you can talk about is the tractor. Yeah. And you need more content. And I know for Funny Car Chaos, we would have queued up the recaps that I would put together after an event. And if we had to, we would stack multiple of them to get us through whatever we were in situation-wise on the live stream. That's just what you've got to do. You always need more content than you think you're going to need. Mm-hmm. And it is better to have things not played content-wise than you have run through everything multiple times, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, 100%. And I agree with Darren, too. It did flow a lot better last year. No pun intended. But I think that had to do with the involvement of Drag Illustrated. And I think it shows as well that more hands are needed. And I think more hands, as in fresh hands, are needed. And I'll just leave it at that.
I agree with you. I think... Let me first say, we've got some cons here in this line. Let me give a pro. I think one element of the Flow broadcast that was much better this year, and this is not a talent situation. This is a timing situation. The top end was much quicker. They were getting to the drivers in a manner that was fresh. They're fresh out of the car. They really didn't have that much time to collect their thoughts. I can remember on one of the previews in a qualifying, they got to Daniel Wilkerson, and Daniel's like, "Oh man, it really drove different." You had this little chat between two funny car racers and Tommy Johnson Jr. and Daniel Wilkerson right before the camera goes live that you're able to get a bit of that action. But you could tell Daniel hadn't fully caught all his breath. And that was a situation that I saw throughout the previews. And that is, in my opinion, drag racing. It really allows the character to come out. John Force, his great interviews, they're right out of the car.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's hyped up and he hasn't collected his thoughts. And you get him on display, or Clay Millican and these other personalities come out in that moment. So I think, one, that was done so much better this year by just getting to the drivers and getting that emotion and it coming out, whether it was disappointment or whether it was excitement, whatever it was. That was much better. With that being said, though, to what you were alluding to, I think this is a great opportunity. Instead of relying on old ESPN and Fox talent, not that they're incapable, why not attempt to promote some new people or pull popular people from other segments of motorsports to call this race? I feel like this race went with what was comfortable.
That's a good take. Very good take. I agree with that. There was a comfortability level with it. And I do believe you got to tap the talent that's out there, and there's plenty of it. And I think, if you want to use, this is the proper way to use people who have following, not bringing them to a race and showing them off as a new toy only to disappear into obscurity after the event is over. These people that you would put out there would have a following. They have a passion for racing for the sport, and now you get these people on here and it's like, wow, okay, I watched this guy here, I watched this guy here on this channel, and now you have brought a new set of eyes that maybe not necessarily even bother to casually look at the sport, to the sport, and hook them in, especially with this style and this format here of this shootout style of racing. It is different. So, I agree with that. And I'll say this too. This is where NHRA needs you. We saw you do some stuff from the Pro Superstar Shootout last year. You need to do that again this year. And here's my pitch, because I know some of you are watching here. The headsets, they can talk to the driver up to a certain point. Once that car stages, the headset's cut. Just like they do in the NFL, headset works for a certain amount of time. They're allowed to talk to the quarterback for a certain amount of time, and then it cuts. We don't want to hear you. They don't want to hear you, and they don't get to talk to you until you get to the top end. PR people, stay in your lane, and it ain't up there handing out slips. That's done.
Right.
So when they get out of the car, can you imagine a Clay Milligan getting out of the car and not knowing anything, and his reaction after the fact? Can you imagine a Krista Baldwin winning a round and not knowing what she went and being told and didn't know and being told right on the spot, and the reaction you would get? I mean, we get a great reaction from her regardless. But could you imagine the explosion of excitement and the personalities that would come through? If you want to move the sport forward in that direction, and you want, I hear Brian Loans, I hear all the insiders talking about these personalities, and they agree with it. But if we're going to move this sport forward, that's the way you're going to do it. So, yeah, they can have all the time they want to talk, but as soon as that top bulb comes on, it's done.
Right.
They don't hear from them until they get to the top end.
I don't fully understand in television production of drag racing why we have moved away from what is a unique moment to drag racing concerning motorsports, because in other forms of motorsports, we don't get to access the driver that quickly.
Right.
There's a cool down lap. And you could tell that people wanted to get to the driver quickly. Look at what NASCAR in the productions that they've had for the past several years, they start interviewing the driver at the finish line, the start finish line. That's imitating what drag racing had for so long. And I believe it took away for whatever reason. They go to that bubble. You've got that delay. You get them on live. That driver has already had time to collect thoughts, take that breath. And I don't know if it was the drivers wanting it. I don't know if it was the teams wanting it. I don't know if it was a TV production thing. But I think everybody involved, they need to let it be raw. Yeah. Steve Righteous, if you're out there listening, I know it's live, but figure it out. How do we do it where we get the raw emotion of these drivers out of the car? I think that is what sells drag racing. That's what made John Force John Force. People knew him for his interviews. That's what made Clay Millican. People knew him for his interviews. You might have been an NHRA fan, didn't watch a lick of IHRA, but you saw a clip of Clay Millican and you knew who he was. It was because of their personality out of the car.
Yeah.
We need that back.
Because, basically you get the Tiger Woods speak at the podium. My car was good. The team is good. I like my chances.
Right. The winner.
And the sponsor speak.
Right. The winner has a different tone. The thought process is different when it's fresh there at the start finish line for a NASCAR race compared to the press release winner.
Yeah.
All right.
So dry.
Again, Flo did a good job, I think, this past weekend for a live stream, and it's challenging. There's some tech you got to have, and communication. It is not easy, and it's more moving parts, and you got to have more people involved to make it happen. But I think they did a good job there and showcased the top end quicker, and that certainly needs to happen. For Bradenton, I hope they continue to have this event because it seems like it is doing exceptionally well. It was packed last year. It was packed again this year, and that was good to see. I still don't understand, Dugenais, promotion itself. You have Pro Promotions. If you go take a look at the Facebook page, Pro Promotions, it was started March of last year. It's almost about to be 1 year old. And I don't know who's running it, but for promoting, there wasn't a whole lot of promoting going on until recently. About a month ago, it was only 800 something followers. Now it's over 1,000 followers, but you just had your big race. But it really should have been more followers going into this race. Definitely. You had content from last year's race. You've had content throughout an NHRA season. That page really should have been bigger for these professional stars in the sport. And then I just still find it strange, the hyperbole in marketing. And I understand marketing's got to happen, but I still like marketing to be grounded, if you will. Find your aim that is still truthful. There's a poster that sticks in my mind, an image card on social media, and it's the Pro Superstar Shootout, and it's the biggest stage. No, it's not.
Yeah,
it's not. Find another angle. The biggest stage is the U.S. Nationals. The biggest stage is the big show, the NHRA. For example, when Chris Graves says Funny Car Chaos, the biggest funny car race in the world, he's not lying. It is in the modern day, the biggest funny car race in the world. And you have other promotions that, yes, there is hype, but that hype is grounded. And I think this event, I can't help but still wonder what they're doing. What is the aim? What is the goal? Are we now just having a race tacked on to this test session, or are we still attempting to further the sport? I don't know. I want some clarity. It was a great race. They had a great event, great storylines coming from it. But what is this race?
The direction. Where's the direction going? Because it had a great. The beginning was great. The promotion was great. That part of it did seem to be lacking this year. The fanfare, the being out there, and I do agree with you. Your slogan's got to match what you're trying to do, and I think Cory made a good point, and you've heard others. It's kind of like an outlaw race. Well, marketed in that such of a way, I think it would grab people would grab hold of it a little bit better than that. What you currently have, and I really do agree that if your social media channels. They had months on months. We know this is coming. There's little things that you can do that you can prepare throughout the season, because you're right there with those same people that are going to be in that. There's little snippets, there's little maybe commercials, there's little things you can do throughout the year where these ladies, men are promoting this all the way up through. And then you have content that builds up to that point throughout the Christmas and Thanksgiving break when there's no racing. There's some way you got to take advantage of that. And then you really have a crescendo coming into late January, early February. There's some way that they have to do that. And I thought, maybe it had a lot to do with Drag Illustrated, but I thought they did an excellent job with that. And I just think they have to be able to if they're not going to be a part of it, and they have to find a way to find their footing and have a direction, point the car in a direction and go that way. If they can do that, I think you could have even more, involvement, fan involvement, and probably media involvement as well. If we can make it big, like as big as you talk it up to be, because it is a solid race.
Yes,
it's a solid race. So let's have a direction and then build off of that. Otherwise, you're just standing still. It becomes stagnant.
Right. And there's a lot of what is going on with this event. Drag Illustrated, like they just now yesterday posted results from this event. They weren't posted on Sunday.
That's weird.
Right. They were posted sometime yesterday. And you can definitely tell the involvement wasn't there. And they were clear that it wasn't going to be. You also have to ask, why were the fields for the Nitro cars in particular so short compared to last year? This year, there is no advertisement on the payout whatsoever.
There wasn't. I didn't even think about that. There wasn't.
Right. So this does feel very different. I'm not saying it's wrong, but there are elements to this that do make you go, interesting.
Yeah.
Why was there no Cruise Petragon? Was this invitation only again? But yet you've got Doug Foley, a part-time team.
Right.
So why was he there? I'm not saying that he shouldn't be there. I think he should have been there last year. Car can certainly be competitive enough from time to time, and he showed that, and he has shown it at the NHRA national event level. But why no Jim Dunn Racing then? Or why? That's a full-time team. Okay,
because I don't think those individuals you mentioned are part of pro.
I don't know.
So here's my other thing. I know that Pro Stock Motorcycle is not a part of pro. Okay, fine. But there's got to be some way to work them in. More bikes. I'm sure Matt would love to test. That's 4 right there. I'm sure that Eddie and the crew Advance and Hines would love to come down. You might get a few more, but that could be an 8-bike field as well if you want. If you don't feel like you're going to get 10 bikes or 12 bikes, then you could do a 6-bike field if you want. But that's more, that fills some time, and they're worth watching. And I think if they could get them involved somehow, it would bring it a set of eyes that most people don't take the time to see to these bikes. And I think when people just sit down and take it in, they'll understand that these things are really exciting to watch. Somehow you got to get those people involved. But you're right. I didn't even think about Cruz not being there, and some of the others. It is pretty strange that they were not there. It's really it's interesting times to see where this is going to go for 2026 and what the plans are.
Right.
There's a lot of questions going forward because it seems like it doesn't have a direction. It's just kind of event. It's a testing, but it's an event.
It really felt like glorified test session this time.
Mm-hmm.
Last year had some big pomp and circumstance, and it carried some weight. Though I don't agree with everything that was stated. From what I understand, drivers split and they didn't take all the payout with them, and there was a big buy-in and things of that nature. But it did come off as a big exceptional race with this idea that you can expect more from pro promotions. Now I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
How are they furthering the sport? That's how this was touted last year, that pro promotions, this pro superstar shootout, that it is an element to be a catalyst to move the sport forward. And I think we saw that. We see the Virginia Nationals have 2 days for the professional categories, and we see the NHRA now stepping out and going to have a Peach State showcase of speed at South Georgia Motorsports Park, and we see the regular season champion getting a nod and a bigger paycheck going into the playoffs. I think you could possibly very well attribute these shakeups to the shakeup that was the Pro Superstar Shootout. But I don't get that sense this year in the case of moving anything forward.
Yeah, I didn't get that either. It was a fun race and fun to watch, but I didn't get that in that sense this time. And it kind of feel like I don't want to say it's at a stalemate, but it's at a stalemate. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, where do we go from here now? What can we do now going forward to make this thing feel like a shining star, something special? That's going to be interesting going forward. I'm really interested to see how and what they do going forward to make this thing another level up.
Right. And I think it can be. And I certainly want to see it continue. Now, there is something else I do want to see, though. For years, right on this platform, competitionplus.com, in particular the YouTube channel, Bobby Bennett streamed testing live. and he was the only entity doing that, and seemed to be like the only entity that was interested in doing that. Well, I know Flo's there, but Flo covered the race.
Yeah.
I would still like to see someone like NC Pro Modder or CompetitionPlus.com or Flo themselves actually cover the testing part. That is still viable content, and people do want to tune into that. That's as boring as it may seem. I loved watching testing content. Just put it on the background, do what I'm doing during the day, and just have it on, and occasionally see a car go down and hear some commentary every now and then. I still think it's important. So the days leading up to the race, let somebody come in and stream it, or Flo pick it up and stream it as well.
Well, I thought Pro Promotions going into it, I could have misheard, I could have misunderstood. I thought that Pro Promotions were going to have some of that for consumption to kind of build people to say, okay, we're going to show you this, but when the race comes, we're not going to show that on YouTube. You're going to have to go to Flow and watch it. That's what I thought they were going to do. Didn't pan out that way. And I do think that is valuable content that they're losing right there. Because when they do the Gainesville test and it gets broadcast, I like it. I will sit and watch it. It may take long for cars to show up, but I'm down with it. I love it.
Right. Me too.
It's fun to watch.
Me too. It was exciting. And you would see people routinely, thank you, Competition Plus, for posting this and sharing this. And I would love to see it again. That content is still important. It may sound strange, and it's like, oh, it's just testing. But stuff happens in testing. You see stuff. You see new people. It is important content. So again, if it's NC Pro Mod, or if it's CompetitionPlus.com, if it's whoever, would love to see that live. I'm certainly glad that, like Kyle Chris with Straight Line Media, he was there putting out great content as he always does. And you got elimination coverage, but he was also putting out testing coverage in that tape delay on YouTube format. And so glad that was the case. I like Sean's idea. Maybe there's a possibility that there's a Nitro Winter Series in the future. That would be kind of cool. I mean, it might be a bit much. I can understand that. There are things happening right now, and I see the behind the scenes with McKinney Corp. I can tell you the off season is not off season. These people are full blast. And, one reason why you didn't see some competitors down there, for example, Alexis DeJoria, well, they've got a chassis at McKinney right now that's a Force chassis. It's having a body mounted to it. And they don't have the stuff to go right now, from what I understand. So you do have some of that happening at this moment. But again, I feel like last year there was like, okay, Pro Promotions is about moving the sport and its personalities forward. And then this year, I feel like we just had a race.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. You're 100% correct.
Moving on. I think are you good, Dujournay?
I'm good.
I feel like we've kind of squeezed that enough. Great event, good for Bradenton Motorsports Park, great for fans. Just wondering where the heck the direction is, and Pro Promotions actually promote yourself and move it forward, because coming up on a year on a social media page, and I think it might be 2000 now, maybe. You know what? Let me just look, Dujournay. I don't want to misquote live. Let me take the moment and search it out and see and make sure what the number is. Pro Promotions. Yeah. It is 1,700 followers on Facebook.
Yeah, that's been out 2 years. It should be way more than that.
Got to bump those numbers up.
Got to
bump those numbers up. Got to bump those numbers up. So Sean asks Steve Torrance, where was he? That's a great one. Where was the Torrance camp? Is he racing in 2025? Nobody really knows.
I've heard rumblings that he might be. I've heard folks say that he might be at Gainesville test, and it may just be his car. But there really has been no word of official that they will be in Gainesville at all. There's been no yay, no nay.
Right. The only thing I can tell you is they are buying parts. That's it. That's the only thing I can tell you. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means full-time, limited, someone else hopping in the ride. Who knows? No clue. No clue.
Yeah.
But it is interesting they were absent from the Pro Superstar Shootout because I felt Steve Torrance was rather adamant about that race last year and what Pro was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And no show with this year's event. That's interesting.
It is something to watch for sure.
I do want to answer Blake's question. He's asked it a couple of times. He says, Lee, how long have you been in NHRA media? You and Dugenais do a great job. Thank you. Appreciate that. Try to do a great job for you all. And thank you for watching. Hit that like button, hit the share button, dive into the comment section. I started Monday Morning Racer this year, March, I think is year 6 or 7. And my first year of Monday Morning Racer, my YouTube channel, I did have some NHRA event coverage, even though I'm buying a fan general admission ticket and just picking up whatever interviews I can and not trying to get caught by security and filming races and, not get caught by, at the time, NHRA gray shirts because I didn't have any credentials and I'm volunteering for teams. So it's been about 6-7 years out in the field in various ways for the Monday Morning Racer platform. Definitely a focus on NHRA drag racing overall.
Yeah, I answered that on my show.
Okay, cool. You've been doing it a while too.
Yeah. It's I forget his last name, but Scott was the one who saw me tweeting about it. I was already doing NFL media by that time, but I loved drag racing. I was always tweeting about it. And he's private messaged me on Twitter, now the artist formerly known as Twitter, and asked me to come how close I was to Gainesville, and that's how it started.
There you go. And can't get out of it now.
Yeah, can't get out of it. I love it, man. I love
Absolutely. It is a joy to talk about. It is a joy to go and experience, and it has been, praise the Lord, it has been a wild ride for me from literally pastoring a church that wasn't going to be moving forward anytime soon, and also part-time on a dairy farm, getting dung slung in my face and being kicked and trampled, to now live with you, fine sir, and these fine people in the comment section talking about drag racing and everything else involved in the sport. Andrew, always on. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate your questions. I like this one, and we'll also talk about Bellemere and Boggs and Bartone in just a few moments as well. But are you team mud flap or no mud flap? All right. So first of all, what Andrew's talking about, if you don't know, and I don't mean to belittle anyone out there, but the flares at the end of the body line of a top fuel dragster right in front of the tires, that's known as the mud flap. You might want to call it even a canard, even though those serve a different purpose, and typically they are shaped different, more like a wing.
Right.
So from a pure marketing standpoint, I'm team mud flap because that's an extra place to put a sticker and have something in photos. But I don't think I really wonder if it's as big of a deal as some make it out to be. And the understanding from what I could catch from the broadcast is Goodyear asked for these mud flaps to be removed to see how the tires would react, because they suspect that because of downforce on the mud flap. But I also understand like canards help disrupt the air coming off the tire. So I would think you'd kind of want the mud flap there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That rolls into another question. And I think beyond team mud flap and no mud flap, do we have a tire issue on our hands? For example, Russell Mills, multi-time champion in pro alcohol in Australia, apparently in the lights at an event this past weekend, tire blew and destroyed that car. He was okay from what I understand, but another tire failure. You have a tire failure there at Antron Brown, and apparently that chassis is going to be front and back half now. So,
jeez.
Is there a tire issue going on? And I know working with Top Fuel teams just 2 years ago at Texas when the conditions were very, very good and we were all expecting that there'd be national records at that particular fall nationals. The teams were losing tires, and when I say lose tires, I don't mean in the lights and popping, but they were not getting out of them the typical runs that you would think. And I've seen cars come back to the pits and out of the sidewall, I'm not talking about the center, but the sidewall down to whatever the inner part of the tire is, that where you see the ribs of it, if you will, chunks gone. So what these tires go through is absolutely insane.
It is. And
it is amazing to me that Goodyear even bothers anymore to build a tire.
I know, right? That is a very good question. And this isn't the first time we've seen a tire go. We saw a few of them last year too. And this one here with Antron, I mean, first I thought maybe something came off his car and maybe hit the tire, or maybe there was something on the track that it picked up, but there wasn't anything. And it was there and it wasn't. And he was very fortunate that thing didn't come off it, because it destroyed a piece of the wing. He's lucky it didn't destroy the whole thing. But it's got to suck. That was a brand new car, and now it's got to be front half and back half. We've seen it enough to where there needs to be, and I'm sure they are looking into it, but that is a question and should be a real concern. This isn't
right.
We've seen it several times now, going back to last year, of this happening, phantomly a tire just going. It needs to be looked into, kind of like the rear end deal. Once, it's just just so happened to happen. But when you do it 2 or 3 times, well, it's no longer a coincidence anymore. It's a problem.
Right. And, my understanding, you mentioned the rear end deal. If you are running a Strange, you need to wear the diaper coming up in NHRA competition. And I wonder if anyone was running a Strange and the diaper at the Pro Superstar Shootout. But apparently, if you're running the Chrisman, it is built in a stronger way, period, and you don't actually have to run the diaper. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is very interesting. And if I'm the guy, if I'm a car owner, I'm sorry, Strange, but I'm not running your rear end at all until you figure it out.
I mean, maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case. But but the caveat to that, Dugenet, is Chrisman, overhearing him from PRI, he's booked. There's
so
not
you
any
don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice. You're not getting a Chrisman anytime soon, from what I understand. And people want them, but you're not getting it anytime soon. So, and like William Herzog, he's like, "Where you at, Hoosier?" Yeah, I mean, that would be interesting. But also, like, if I'm a Top Fuel owner and driver at this point right now, or driver, I don't know if I want to do tire testing. That's not like hopping in a stock car and I've got a safer barrier, and a part of my industry, if you will, in motorsports is I routinely wreck in this thing.
Yeah. This ain't it.
Tire testing.
I wonder how you could do that though. I mean, could you run it hard to 60 foot is not really enough.
No, I don't think so.
You'd probably have to go to about 200 feet, maybe 250 feet, and then see what type of chunking, what type of, what is the tire doing? What does it look like after that? Because I mean, I'd be honest with you. If I had a choice, I probably wouldn't be running a Goodyear. I'd run a Mickey Thompson. I like Mickey Thompson.
And look, it also comes down to, does any other tire manufacturer out there actually want to even attempt to build a tire for
investment?
Nitro, Funny Car, and Top Fuel, because Goodyear's the only one really doing it.
And they're not going to give you the formula.
Right.
You're going to have to figure it out.
And it's, I mean, I can get it's a laboratory to some extent. There's some engineering and there's some things you can roll over into other tires, but honestly, Goodyear's just being good at the sport.
Yeah.
And
they really are
making tires.
And if that's the case, Dave, then give me a Hoosier.
But again, do they want to? And sure, I understand they are in top alcohol funny car, and there's plenty of top alcohol funny car operations that are running Hoosiers and doing so very well. But
340.
I can't even imagine the engineering and the leap that it is. And look, it's amazing to me that tires can be used over and over at the level that we are at now at any time. It just, 335 plus miles per hour on a tire, and you see what they are going through in the super slow-mos. The tire is square. Like it's just it's
so wild.
It's wild. It is wild. So look, with all that being said, thank you, Goodyear. And kudos to you that there is even a tire that exists that can do what your tire is doing. But I do think that we may have a tire issue. Or is this the limitations of the prep that was on Bradenton in those conditions? Is that something? Or do we have an issue that when conditions are so good that we need to make a change because tires therefore become an issue? And all of this, Duchesne, comes to what I think fans don't want to hear. They probably need to be slower.
Hey, Tony Pedregon's been saying it. He's been beating that horse for probably 20 years. Fans don't want to hear that. And Andrew makes a good point. And I've thought about that as well, because we've kind of live in the age of, tuners don't want to tune, and they're concerned about how much track prep is on the racetrack. And with the amount of horsepower and the amount of just the ability they know how to be able to get the maximum amount of stick. And now you add track prep to that with a great tune-up, great tire. Maybe all of it's too much. Like he said there, too much sticky. And that tire is really sticking to that racetrack, and it's causing it to chunk because of it. So that's a lot of torque, a lot of horsepower being applied. And then with good track conditions and sticky tracks, it's gonna chunk away at that tire. Something's got to give, and it ain't the track.
Right. And with all that being said, I don't really have any answers, but I do see that there are some problems, and I'm sure there are extremely smart people right now talking about it, but something needs to be done before we have a catastrophic failure.
Yeah.
And someone is put into jeopardy beyond what they already are. So, yes. And in jeopardy, speaking of, Top Alcohol Funny Car is now in jeopardy after this weekend. Andrew has mentioned it. Others have mentioned it. The Injected Nitro pass heard around the world at this point. And matter of fact, Mr. Bellemere said that the team was going to have a private test session. Well, I don't know if they intended it to be private after this particular weekend, but if they did, they goofed, because they went down to Gainesville during a bracket race and it was live streamed and you had people attending, and there's video out everywhere and there's photos everywhere of this thing called the Black Pearl, as they have dubbed it. It looks like something out of Skunk Works, all black with the Jolly Roger on it. And they go out there with Injected Nitro. And by the way, Steve Boggs is no stranger to Nitro. He was involved in Nitro racing way back. And Tony Bartone also had his time in Nitro racing. Nonetheless, they go out And yeah, they run a 5:28 with an 8 at 283.49 miles per hour in the quarter mile. And that is naturally aspirated injected nitro.
Absolutely insane. And I'm with Tony. They should have shut it off early. They should have shut it off early. You should have shut it off at 1,000 foot and let that joker coast through.
Man,
the NHRA is like, it did what? They were on the phone immediately.
I'm sure they were. I'm sure they were. Someone from Gainesville Raceway in the tower is like, y'all aren't gonna believe this. Man, you know,
wait is coming.
something. And a lot of people in the comment section are asking, hey, what do you think should be done? One, I think, and there's been some people to propose this. Okay. They were in good conditions and they make a stellar run.
Right.
We don't exactly know if it was NHRA legal or not. We don't. I suspect it was, but we don't know. With that being stated, instead of knocking this combination, what if we open up the other combination and let them get out of it even more if there's a limitation? Now, I say that, and Steve Boggs himself might say, or Doug Gordon or whoever, be like, no, there's not really much more we can do. We're at the limitations. I mean, they are leaving, over 7,000 RPMs to 10,000 RPMs, and I get it. There very well could be tapped out, but maybe not. So the NHRA certainly got to look at some things. I don't think it is the death knell of the class the way people think. I think you will have in the future far less supercharged methanol burning funny cars.
Yeah, I do too.
I think, though, the way that NHRA drag racing is moving forward, this will be a more streamlined stepping stone to the professional ranks. Honestly, I think it's what the NHRA wants anyway. They just don't want to tell the people in the sportsman ranks who are still running blown methanol to just go, because they like them to come and they like them to spend their money.
Right.
But I think they actually all wanted nitro.
I think so. And I do agree. I think the dragsters have proven that if you're looking to progress and that's your next progression to go into nitro, then this funny car is great. But I'm along the lines of I'd like to see some mainstays here, like they had with the Xfinity series, where you just have people that are just mainstays. The NASCAR Truck Series. I want this class to be just like that. People who want to move on, that's fine. You're going to have those, and they're going to be obvious. But me, if I have an opportunity to drive, I have no aspirations to go any further than the alcohol class, because I enjoy that class. And it makes it more enjoyable now that there's a little nitromethane sprinkled in there. And being that it is, I'd probably be more inclined, me not really being a guy who would like to have an engine in front of him, I probably would drive a nitro injected funny car. I think it sounds intriguing, sounds like a blast. I also think that it also helps that class, because I think there's more people that want to do that as well. So, because the objective is to get more funny cars out there, because that is the one thing that is missing. You can get dragsters from here to next week, no problem. It's the funny cars that have been lacking, and I'm with you too. Let's not make knee-jerk reactions. NHRA does too much of that. I felt like that in-season change with Pro Stock Motorcycle did not help the class. The people who were felt like they didn't have an advantage and there was an issue, still didn't show up. So that wasn't a help. Should have left it the way it was, and then you could have made an absolute, complete sound decision in an off season to allow people to prepare and get themselves ready, and then feel like they have an opportunity to start fresh and see where this goes. One pass does not make things, 100% factual, because there's so many other factors. Let's say this year we go to Gainesville and track, it's 80 degrees, it's 90 degrees. We don't have any cold weather, likely not going to happen, but let's just be
right.
Go think outside the box here. And let's say we go back to 10 years ago or 6 years ago when 90-degree weather every day. That's probably not going to vote well for that car. And now you're going to have different conditions. It's probably not going to make that number. You probably had everything just right to be able to run that number. That's not something they're going to be able to do consistently. So I'd say wait, see what they're able to do, and then you make your adjustments. And like you said, I'm not sure if they're tapped out or not, but then if that is really an advantage, then open it up for those in the alcohol class.
Right.
But I think the overall deal with everything is that you got to start treating them just as well as you do the nitro classes, the Mission Food Series, because if you don't, none of this really matters.
Right. I completely agree. And it keeps coming back to that, is treatment. And so many of those sportsman racers who are really professionals when it comes to that level, running injected nitro in the dragsters or blown methanol in the dragsters or the funny cars, it is an issue of treatment. That's why so many other places have become appealing, whether that's Midwest Drag Racing Series or obviously Funny Car Chaos, to go race those series. Now, I will say that I do think people need to tap the brakes on it's going to kill the class. I understand that Top Alcohol Dragster looks drastically different than it did 20 years ago. But your 2024 Top Alcohol Dragster World Champion is a blown methanol dragster.
Yeah.
Sean Cowery.
Yeah.
So I understand this was an impressive run. But something that I don't think we give enough credit to the NHRA, they do get parity at times.
They do.
And you may have to really run your combination, and you might have to hit that nail on the head. But nonetheless, the world champion last year in the dragsters was a blown methanol car.
Yep.
Not an injected nitro car.
Yep. That's why I say just let's not make any knee-jerk reactions here. Just let it play out, and the adjustments can be made. And I don't think the adjustments need to be made with that car. I think they need to, if it is possible, they need to allow those alcohol cars to be able to have whatever they need to make it happen. Let's bring them up to the level. Let's not dumb them down.
Right. Look, I think if it was in NHRA legal trim, whenever the Killer Bees decide to bring that car out, let them run it. As long as the safety is right, as long as the weight's right. And when I mean weight, I mean per the combination as is right now.
Right.
Let them run it. And if they do run it and it just runs out the back door and blows everybody's doors off, then start figuring out from there. But let's not make rules now.
On a test session.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That ain't smart.
I agree. William, I have no scoop. I have not heard anything further on the Elite Fuel car other than possible partnerships. But I can expect that in the future, Freeman's going to have nitromethane burning machines of some nature. And he might as well just be the next Don Schumacher out there, honestly.
I'm telling you.
He seems to be building that way for sure. And Andrew, yes, did see that Angel is going to be running a canopy car. That is cool. Apparently the first canopy car in the A fuel ranks and Injected Nitro. I really wonder about the vehicle dynamics on that and the weight transfer and things of that nature for that vehicle. But look, I look at modern day top fuel dragsters and those that are in canopies. I'm glad they are in them. And those that are not in canopies, though they are down and back, I do wonder, if anything ever struck that windshield wrong. It's just plexiglass. It's not that thick. It's just to throw the wind over.
Right.
I wouldn't want to see that. It would be like an IndyCar type of situation. So I do wonder if maybe not going to full canopy. But then you also have the argument that if I roll over in a particular way and I'm stuck in this thing, and that's something you've got to think about as well.
But we saw Leah in that capsule and came out unscathed. I think that's a selling point, but I never thought about that side of it. What you just said there, I've never thought about that. But yeah, that is a downside.
Right.
That is
right.
a downside.
Right. Dave W. Yes. Julie Natus posted on her social media today that apparently she was in a funny car, and not just an Injected Nitro funny car as she was with Randy Meyer Racing, because she has competed, in fact, in Funny Car Chaos competition a couple of years ago. So she does have a funny car license, but apparently trying to upgrade her top fuel license in a big show funny car, as we would say within the industry. I suspect that it was Dale's car. Here's why I suspect that it was Dale's car, and in particular the testing car. You look at the padding, I don't think the padding was up to spec to date to enter it into NHRA competition. I know it was not Wilkerson's car because it didn't have the full padding either, but it was also a McKinney. You can see McKinney riding on the head pad, and then you also can see the McKinney placard on the right side of the shoulder hoop. So I suspect that it was Dale's training car, if you will. And also the crew member that was helping get her in the car, there was a CP Carrillo hat. It was a CP Carrillo hat, and CP Carrillo is very much associated with Dale. And in fact, they were running the CP Carrillo car. So I think that was Dale's funny car. Maybe not the one Bobby ran. Could have been, but it might have been the other one, because he's got more than one. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I agree.
Dale, can you call in, Dale? Dale.
Andrew, I did see that. I actually had a funny tweet to Ron Capps and Ron Capps Motorsports after that about Maddie. Look, I'm gonna say this for those of us who, and I've said this on my show, our great family member at Sports Journey, Seawall at Seawall Sports and Entertainment, she always says, use your clues. And if you use your clues and you read the tea leaves,
right,
we all knew that it was her.
Right.
He just hadn't come out and said it yet.
Plain, yes.
Yeah, and he said it so plain as if it was like, were you in La La Land and you were just so comfortable, right, and you were talking? Did you have
tire shake during testing, or what?
And so I'm like, what? In my best Stone Cold Steve Austin, what? What did you just say? Right. So yeah, I don't think that's a surprise. The documentary deal, I'm going to be nice about this, but I find it weird. Why would you announce something that is a year old? Why would you have a documentary on anything that is a year old and debut it? It's old news, and it's going to show as old news if it's a pre-made documentary, right? So I don't know about that. it's probably some stuff in the works. I don't know about all of that though, because I mean, I don't see the benefit. What is the benefit of that being that delayed? You know what I mean? And unless you're putting it, because he talked about it being on a streaming channel, and you know, would it be the fast channel? I don't know. It seems like if it was, he would say that. But with him mentioning that, I'm gonna throw this to you, Lee. So we've seen the NFL use Amazon and Netflix as platforms to use to stream games. We've seen WWE go to Netflix. You see AEW is using Max. Is the next move, when it comes down to TV deal, is the next move to move, not only have NHRA TV, but have the ability to have this on a streaming service and be able to broadcast it there? Because I think that is your next move. There's tons of people who have Netflix. I'm not saying Netflix is the thing, but I personally think you would really gain a lot if you were able to be on Max. And Max already has sports through Bleacher Report, NBA games, baseball games, hockey games. They have everything. Well, there's even soccer. There's other things on there. That is a spot that, to me, it's an untouched area as far as Max is concerned. Netflix has a lot of other things, and everybody's, you know, there's a lot of things over there. You know, Amazon, meh on that. I think Max would be a good spot for them. Do you think that that is the next wave to kind of push as far as a TV deal, to have this thing be simulcast on a streaming service and then have it to have the availability to be able to watch back as well, because you would have an archive there and the ability to have it being able to be seen again if necessary?
First, I think the next move that needs to take place is Fox marketing understand what the fastest motorsport actually is and not say it's IndyCar.
Exactly. That was bad.
Granted, with drag racing, you have to even be a bit more specific and say fastest accelerating sport.
Right.
Everybody in this discussion loves to leave out land speed and air racing.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to throw that out there. But I like your idea. I think drag racing is uniquely positioned as well. For example, you got NHRA.TV right now. What if the NHRA.TV was a special deal with Amazon and you were able to see the races live if you had Amazon Prime, but then you also still had the Fox deal as the tape delay type of production on cable?
I like that.
So that's kind of best of both worlds, I think.
Yes.
And also, then you're not asking other people to pay another subscription. That's something about, you know, I've even, you know, we're going to be trying this with a particular drag racing series in the future, but, you know, man, you're just asking someone to pay another bit. And, man, people are paying so much now for just so many things.
Exactly.
But if you could package NHRA.TV and it was already on a platform that they pay for, such as Amazon Prime, then I think you could potentially open it up to more eyeballs because it's out there. And, you know, because it is live, maybe that is a notification to all people watching Amazon Prime. I'm not sure. It may be, may not be, but it tends to move it in that slot, like live right now, and it's the second bar down. So I think drag racing is uniquely positioned because of its length, that you could have that live stream through a streaming platform such as Amazon Prime, but still have a tape delayed type of version on Fox.
So here's my next thing. If they're going to do that, just like with the NFL, Amazon Prime has their own pregame
Okay.
crew
Mhm.
and their own announcers. So if it's on Amazon Prime, Amazon Prime's going to be on the track somewhere. So they're going to be a sponsor of sort in that. Then you need to have your own broadcast crew, in my opinion, because it is
Right.
on Amazon Prime.
Right.
You have to. There's some little things you got to do to make it worth the while of, because some people may. So they have the next gen stat. You can watch the next gen stats version of the game live, so you get to see all the plays, how it works, how their players are running, all that stuff, and there's special cut-ins of different stats that a guy will come in and do. Maybe you could do something like that and have a different broadcast crew, and somehow you've got to package something a little bit different involved in that. Maybe it's you get to hear the head, the radios of the teams or something like that, because just recently NASCAR was on Max, and it reminded me of the old days of DirecTV, where you could pick your particular driver and be in the in-car with them. They had that actually on Max for that first that big specialty race that they did there. Really cool, something that hadn't been done in a long time. Thought it was really cool that they were able to have that. Maybe you do something like that, that people for Prime makes it special, and then people can choose what they want to do and what they want to watch. So I think that would be another way to kind of market that.
It's worth looking into. I am a fan. For example, good move, NHRA. Kudos. They dropped every national event from last year on YouTube.
That was
you can
smart.
watch. Okay. And they also dropped the Fox Sportsman broadcasts as well. Good move. For one, I hope that they also take it a step further and people can create content from those, and they don't knock them, and they allow, they allow creativity with those pieces of content, such as NASCAR and other brands do. I hope that happens as well. But that all was a good move. NHRA.TV is a great platform for the fan. But nobody that is not a fan is buying NHRA.TV. The reason I think NHRA YouTube and NHRA on a streaming platform such as Amazon would be advantageous, or is advantageous, is because there is the algorithmic potential that new eyeballs can see the sport.
Yeah.
Whereas NHRA.TV is for fans. I am reminded, anytime I talk about this, I think of 1320 Video. They're overseas in the Middle East, and they get their first opportunity to really ever film a Nitro funny car. Dale Worsham's over there doing some match racing, basically. And they film it, and they're like, this is the most, I think the title is the car with the most horsepower we've ever filmed, or something of that nature. And if you go into the comments section of that video, the 1320 Video crowd, there's many of them asking very fundamental, elementary questions about Dale Worsham's Nitro funny car that you and I would find silly, but they had not been exposed.
Yeah.
And one of them, whether trolling or being legitimate in asking, it was like, is this controlled like by radio? Like, is there actually a human in there? Because it seems so inhuman what is happening in the moment. So yeah, I want things within the algorithm. You can live by it and you can die by it, for sure. But I want the opportunity for more people to see the sport And I think that goes for any form of drag racing. I mean, Drag Racing Mayhem, he's here in the comments section. He routinely says, hey, I became a PDRA fan because I was watching your content, Monday Morning Racer, and was exposed to it. He had not seen it until that. So I am a big fan of let's put it out there and battle it out with all the other entertainment and see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. It's all about attracting people you wouldn't normally get to, and that's the name of the game nowadays. I'm not really a fan of reels, but I'm doing them.
I'm not.
I'm doing them, and I have seen results from it. But you have to play the game to be in the game.
Right.
So I think that's the algorithm deal is a way to play the game.
Yes.
Because it, again, yes, you want to do the things that were going to help your hardcore older fans, but you got to find a way to reach the youth, and that's where they're at. So you have to go where they're at, and those younger people outside of someone like Drag Race Mayhem, because they're a fan and they know this sport, those other people like him are not buying NHRA TV.
Right.
They're just not.
Right. Again, it's behind that paywall. And the only people that are going to buy it are racers and hardcore fans. And I'm glad that service is there, but nobody else is going to get it. You are not growing the NHRA fan base through NHRA.tv. It is for fans already. It's not happening.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it's there. Do not misunderstand me. But if another package could be worked out where I don't have to pay for NHRA.tv, but I could get it on Prime and get the whole event on Prime.
Right.
I would take that because, I like Memphis, like Lonnie. Okay. Hardcore fan. So I do buy NHRA.tv.
Right.
Everybody on here right now, you're hardcore fans.
Right.
But we also got to reach new people. Now, I don't mean just selling out.
No.
And, we completely change the sport to get new fans. No, I think NASCAR has learned from that. Like, it hasn't quite worked that well, and they left markets and, all that kind of stuff. We got to be careful about alienating hardcore fans. But yeah, we also have got to be proactive in building the fan base.
Definitely.
And I think what alienates hardcore fans, we've already seen it, and a lot of it comes from competitors. The burnouts aren't long, no more throttle wax, and stuff like that. I think that alienates hardcore fans more than if you had a streaming package.
Yeah,
so,
I agree. It's the little things.
Right. Now, I would say it would not be a good move, in my opinion, if you said this is exclusively on Prime. I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, you can't do that.
If you do something on, and I know we're saying Prime a lot, it's just the easiest example. If you did something on Amazon Prime, I think it needs to take the place of like a NHRA.tv, but you still need that Fox broadcast. Now, with saying also Fox, I would love to see some NHRA promos during the Super Bowl. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I was wondering where that was at. Like,
there was a NASCAR one.
Man.
There was an IndyCar one. Love to have seen an NHRA one. That'd been cool. Yeah. I do at least hope that we'll see NHRA commercial and spots on IndyCar and on NASCAR. And I suspect that we're going to have more motorsport opportunity lead in and lead outs this year because of IndyCar on. So that's a win. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I think that needs to be looked into. I think it does need to be looked into.
Yeah.
I like what Dave W. said. He's like, yeah, we're definitely hardcore fans to be listening to you guys talk at 11 p.m. Yeah.
257
yes.
of you listening to us talk to drag racing at 11 p.m. I don't think it's a exclusive deal either. I think
Right.
you still have the NHRA TV. It's just simulcasting on a Prime. So, it's not taking any of it's an addition and there is no subtraction. And if it means that you get some money out of it, which you likely would get some sponsorship money out of it. And that's why I say you could do something. There's something else to attract those individuals that you could do something different. I mean, the NFL sometimes does Nickelodeon and they have Slime and they do this and that. I don't know. I'm not saying you go in that route. I'm just saying there's something you could do different with that broadcast on Prime.
Right.
I don't think using the same old voices over and over and over again is where it's at. Right. I think if you're going to go to a streaming service and it's going to be simulcast, you need a different set of voices, and maybe it's some younger voices. I don't know, but you do something different. I think that's the problem. That's another problem for another day for NHRA. We're using the same people too much over and over again, and for some of them it's redundant. They say the same things over and over and over again. There's nothing new. If you've seen them once, you've seen them 100 times. So that's little things that they could do differently.
Right. And I do see and I do think with the voices you're talking about, I do recall Brian Loans mentioned on an episode of the NHRA Insider podcast that we can expect to see some new personalities on the Fox broadcast from other places. So I think it would be good that one weekend you have some Fox personalities from NASCAR at the track. Remember, I don't know if he'd be interested or not, but I think of someone such as, lead analyst for Fox with NASCAR. Wow.
It's the older guy, right?
Yes. I can. Anyway, it'd be like, what if he did some pit coverage in NASCAR? Mike Joy. Thank you, Dave W. I appreciate it. Thank you. Mike Joy. And he's not unfamiliar with the sport. If you look back far enough, like I've been watching a lot of ESPN IHRA coverage on competitionplus.com. By the way, competitionplus.com, the YouTube channel in particular, where you could very well be watching right now. If you subscribe, you can get great content from the past and even the modern day, such as the IHRA 1984 Northern Nationals. You can watch that on competitionplus.com. And then I've been watching some of that coverage. Well, so that coverage, like it includes Bob Jenkins and Marty Reed.
Yeah.
Marty Reed is out there in the pits. You know what I mean? It's so, yeah, cross-pollinating, if you will, some of these personalities, would be good. And I do think the people that are involved in the sport and these personalities, I think we got to be smart who we bring in, and do they have a following? Do they have a strong Facebook page? Do they have a strong Instagram? Do they have a so on? That's stuff you got to look at. Now, I don't want any quack up there, and I don't want ladies out there that just look good and they can't do their job. I want people who are competent and want people who have a good following, charisma. And charisma. It is certainly having the right package. And look, you can see that with Brian Loans. Brian Loans has a growing YouTube channel right now, doing a good job on his YouTube channel. And the more that YouTube channel grows, if the NHRA leverages that a little bit and mentions, hey, there's a race coming up and he's got an audience, that's smart. So I hope in the future that we see some good cross-pollination. Like, I know he's with NBC, but it would be good that if you had a Dale Jr., come and help in coverage of an NHRA drag race. I agree. Getting Ron Capps on the Pat McAfee show and those type of movies, and Tony Stewart in that situation. All of those are big. And that cross-pollinating needs to happen. Or I think of Cruz Petragon. He has a good relationship with
Jim Rome.
Yes, Jim Rome. Yes, I was going to say Rome burning because that's what I remember.
Yeah.
But Jim Rome, so we need someone to get blasted by Cowherd now at this point. We need someone to get connected. So
that would be nice. Colin's good.
Anyway, look, we're just spitballing. There's some ideas. Overall, I think the sport's moving in the right direction. NHRA is doing a much better job than what it was years ago. I think of the teams such as Allie Bland and Josh Hatchett and many others. They're doing a good job in many respects. Some do need to learn, how to pick up the phone, but others are doing a good job for sure. And I really like things like the Peach State Showcase of Speed and I really like that now we're celebrating the regular season champion. We still need to get rid of the show up to every qualifying and every race. So that still needs to happen.
Got to go.
Still needs to happen. It might be a dead horse, but we needed to giddy up. Okay. So that still needs to happen. But yeah, I would like to conclude it, the rambling at this point. I would like to know what Pro intends. But you had a good race, and Injected Nitro, well, it's out of the bag.
It's out of the bag. The cat is out of the bag. So I'm looking forward to seeing who comes out there, who decides to get involved in it. And I think it's going to be fun. If they do it right, I think they'll be able to grow this class. But at the end of the day, it all starts with making sure you showcase these guys the right way, or maybe if you don't, they'll go over to IHRA.
You never know. We are in such a fascinating time in the sport right now. Yeah. Such a fascinating time. And we may very well look back 20 years from now and realize that this time was a catalyst to some of the best times. Possibly some of the worst times, but nonetheless, we are in a fascinating time right now in the sport of drag racing. And when I say the sport of drag racing, I don't just mean NHRA drag racing. I mean overall.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's crazy. Just the level of excitement around all forms of racing. I mean, who would ever think Lights Out would be as big as it is? A bunch of door slammer cars. I mean, we have big turnouts for dudes who got decked out Cadillacs with 22-inch rims racing down the racetrack. Right. Like, who would have ever thought that was a thing that people would go watch and pack the house for? Like, it's insane.
I know. I have not experienced, I think that's donk racing, if I remember correctly. I have not experienced that, but I've seen it and like, wow, this is fascinating. It's just so different. It's so ridiculous.
It's very ridiculous.
Or I think of the no prep scene. I look at what they're doing and I'm like, guys, someone was joking, but I saw a photo today of a no prep car. You know how a lot of the no prep guys love to run no hood, no fenders. Yeah. And someone had a sprint car style front wing on their no prep car. And I'm like, before long, we're going to have a no prep top fuel stripped down dragster that looks like something from the late 50s, early 60s out there competing in no prep. And they have just done the full circle in drag racing. So yes, it's a fascinating time. It is such a cool time. And guys, look, just embrace it, enjoy it. And remember, there are actually more important things in the world. So go hug on your mama and tell your friends you love them, and well, get some sleep unless you're on the West Coast. That's what we're going to do right now. Myself and Dujanay Bland. This has been the Competition Plus Power Hour. Thank you for watching. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and join us once again next week for talking more drag racing. Thank you for letting us do it with you and participating in the comment section. Each and every one of you, God bless, and keep the pedal to the metal. And when you put that pedal to the metal, well, make sure you got Competition products. They'll help you compete.
Competition Products, your source for hardcore engine parts for street, strip, and oval track. Our free catalog is packed with hundreds of product lines from the best-known manufacturers in the performance industry. Lowest prices guaranteed. Free shipping and handling on all orders over $149 in the continental U.S.
Need expert advice? Our knowledgeable staff is just a phone call away.
Competition Products. Race parts sold by racers since 1970.